Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Back Pocket Topics, the sports show. I'm your host, Cooper
I'm
O'Kelly.
Scott Nance.
And today we're going to be walking you guys through a little draft day helper for fantasy football. We both have drafts tonight.
Yeah, I actually have two drafts tonight, and they both start. One starts at 7:30, one starts at 8. So it's gonna be interesting to see how I balance those two, but I don't know. We'll see.
You'll be double fisting.
Exactly.
Now the preseason is pretty much over. It's officially fantasy season. One year I was having my draft a little too early and a preseason game was going on, and Bears legend Cameron Meredith tore his ACL in a preseason game right after one of my friends had just drafted him.
Yeah, you just can't do drafts before, you have to do it a week or two 2 weeks is the earliest you want to do one before the season starts, just because there's way too many variables. Plus, you can just get more information through preseason. So I haven't watched as much preseason football as I probably should have this year, but I've watched a decent amount, I think.
Yeah, I didn't really watch much at all, to be honest. Yeah. But I tried to. I got the highlights. I was on Twitter. I was reading the reports.
Getting those TikTok breakdowns from.
Exactly, Scott Nance Sports.
I have not done a TikTok breakdown, but we shall see.
All right. So how do we want to kick this off? We could go pick by pick.
You can start off with just picks 1 to 12, the full first round of just saying potential options per pick and potential ways the draft could play out if we there's potential ways the draft could play out and what we would do at that individual spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
We can start off with pick number 1. Personally, I think this is if you don't take Jonathan Taylor at pick 1, then I don't know what is going on, because literally he's coming off one of the best. He's coming off as RB1 last year, right? There was a reason for that. He's one of the most talented running backs in the league. He is running behind one of the best offensive lines in the league, at least especially run blocking wise. They're gonna just be clearing lanes for him with ease, and he actually showed a lot of upside, and he actually showed some stuff in the receiving game, which he didn't really show coming out of college, which was a bigger reason why I personally thought he should have been the first running back off the board, which was a good take by me. But I don't know. Coming out, he was the third off the board or something, and a lot of people just concerned about his fumbling and his hands and receiving ability out the backfield, but he hasn't really shown too much there. And then with his athleticism and his ability running behind this offensive line, I think if you don't take him at number 1, then I don't really know what you're doing.
And honestly, I feel like something that most people have overlooked, at least I haven't seen a lot of it, the fact that the Colts went from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan. I know Matt Ryan's not the MVP caliber player he once was, but that's a pretty significant upgrade, in my opinion. And I know, Taylor's not exactly known for catching passes, but he still will. And Ryan's a lot more accurate. I think the Colts are going to have a better offense in general because of that QB upgrade. And I don't know. I agree with you. I think Jonathan Taylor 1-1.
Yeah, and sure. adding on to the Matt Ryan part, Carson Wentz plays so much more. He adds so many more variables to the game because he throws so many more picks. He just throws the ball in more risky situations, which will result in shorter drives sometimes, which just means less touchdowns and less scoring for the Colts and Jonathan Taylor in particular. So, yeah. Now onto the 1-2. I'll let you start us off.
So pick 2. I actually have pick 2 in my draft tonight. I think that there's a couple ways that you could go with pick 2. I think for me, it came down to debating McCaffrey and Austin Eckler with the Chargers. And when I really sat down and thought about it, I really thought I'm trying to win my league. I'm not trying to play safe. I'm not trying to just be a one and done first round exit. I'm trying to win. And if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, he's the best player in fantasy football by far. And that I'm taking, it's 23 missed games in the past 2 seasons, but I'm taking the gamble. I'm going with Christian McCaffrey at pick 2. I really just think he's got the most upside, the highest ceiling, and that's why I'm taking him.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with that. Also, I would also go with Christian McCaffrey at the 1-2. But I honestly, if I'm just looking at who is at each specific spot, I just don't really want to be picking in like the 2 to like 6 range, because there's either like I think there's a big drop off after the 1-1, because Jonathan Taylor I think is going to be a home run pick no matter what. But McCaffrey has his questions, and Austin Eckler, he's a great receiver, but I've never been the biggest Eckler guy. So like just to think about taking him top 2 or even top 3 is a little bit much for me. And then me personally, I don't like taking wide receivers in round 1 just because there's so few good running backs in the league and a running back is the most important player in fantasy football. So I just don't like that like 2 to 6 range this year, because it's just filled with McCaffrey, Eckler, and a bunch of receivers. And at least that's what a lot of people are projecting it to be. But at the 2,
Sure.
I'm just praying I don't get a pick in that range. But if I do, I pick 2. I think I'm going to have to go with McCaffrey, because like you said, you play fantasy football to have fun. You play fantasy football to win it all. You're not going to get any points for second place, third place, fourth place, as much as some people are going to want to be like, oh, well, I wasn't last place this year. Like, it doesn't really matter if you're not going to get first and win whatever money you have at stake. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the 1-3, I think I made my opinion clear. I don't like taking receivers in round 1, and Eckler is probably the only option there, because if I look at other running backs, you've got Derrick Henry coming off an injury, so how much are you really going to want to trust him, especially because now they don't have A.J. Brown, and I feel like they're just a little bit of a worse team this year in general. So and plus he's coming off an injury, so I don't know how much I want to trust Derrick Henry, especially compared to someone who is going to be safe with Austin Eckler and with PPR. And so I think I'm going to go with Austin Eckler at 3, especially because like I'm a big Dalvin Cook fan, but Dalvin Cook has his injury concerns, but I would definitely be thinking about Dalvin Cook here. And also at like 4, 5, and 6, probably I'd be thinking about Dalvin Cook. But at 3, I think I'm going to have to stick with Austin Eckler, because I'm also not comfortable with taking a receiver here.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. No matter what spot I had in the draft, I knew for sure I was going running back first round. Because last year I had a low pick. I was like 10 or 11. And there was a big run on running backs. I ended up getting Davante Adams, which obviously like great receiver, good for fantasy. But just my running back depth was hurt by that.
You don't want to be stuck with Darrell Henderson
and James Robinson.
You don't want to be stuck with like Darrell Henderson and injured James Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would agree with you. I'd go Eckler here at 3. Seems pretty chalk in my opinion.
Yeah.
Henry, something about Derrick Henry, I just don't know. I'm like cautious of touching him at all.
I'm just getting bad vibes from that whole team.
Like we know. Yeah, exactly. Like we know how much of a physical specimen that guy is. Obviously, he's a monster. He's massive. Like he can do it all. But part of me thinks that like he gets all these touches every year. At some point, he's got to fall off, and I think that there's no better year for that to happen. Where you've got Ryan Tannehill subpar at best. You've got no receivers for him to throw to. You're coming off a foot injury. Everyone knows they're going to run the ball all game. I'm not feeling Derrick.
Yeah, he's like what 27,
so
28 years old too. Drafted in 2016. Yeah. Like the dude, and carrying that workload. Plus he carried a huge workload in college. Like at some point his legs are just getting tired. His body's just going to wear down. Like you hate to but like to predict someone to like get hurt or just not be the same athletically. But like at some point you have to be realistic with this. And I just don't think that Derrick Henry's been an anomaly so far, that he's been able to stay healthy and that he's been able to produce that efficiently at this workload. But I think that he's just giving me a little bit of bad vibes during this entire season. And I'm just not comfortable taking him this high.
Yeah. And in saying that, at 4, I personally am going with Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is one of the best running backs in the league when he's healthy. I said this about Christian McCaffrey. Sure, there's some injury risk there. He has a bit of an injury history. I know that, but he's in a good situation. I think the Vikings hired a new coach this offseason, offensive-minded coach. I think Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson surrounding him, everyone's going to touch the ball. The touches are going to be spread out in this Minnesota offense. And I think Dalvin Cook is definitely due for some high touchdown count this year. I think he's going to touch the ball a lot in the red zone. Kirk's going to look for him in the passing game. I like Dalvin Cook a lot this year.
Yeah, like I'm probably one of the biggest Dalvin Cook fans apart from Minnesota Vikings fans in general, because like going back, like it's been well documented. I've taken Dalvin Cook in fantasy drafts in multiple years. He's won me leagues before, even though I might not have gotten paid in said leagues. But I did. Yeah, he's been really good for me when he's healthy, and I just think that I think it's overstated how much he gets injured, and B, just Alexander Madison, just pick him up in like 10th or 11th round if you're gonna get him, and Alexander Madison has been able to produce pretty well there as well. But the only thing that gives me some pause with him, like I think that Justin Jefferson is going to be wide receiver 1 in fantasy this year, because not only has it been reported that the Vikings are going to be a more pass-heavy offense this year, and just like they're going to be throwing the ball more, but because of, I'm trying to think, it's a Kevin McConnell or Kevin O'Connell or something, who's the new
Something
coach
like
for. He came from the Rams, and I watched either Brett Coleman or Alex Rollins. I don't remember which one it was, but they were talking about how Justin Jefferson is going to be used in the Cooper Kupp role that Cooper Kupp had last year, which is playing him in the slot, getting him the ball on these crossing routes, on these, like, just basically put him in a spot where it's going to be hard for the defense to guard him. And then also in the run game, he's going to have a big role as a blocker coming out of the slot or just cracking down. Like Justin Jefferson going back to college at LSU has been one of the better blockers in college in football for a receiver. But because of that, you could say, oh, Dalvin Cook could be better because he's got good receivers blocking for him. His offensive line is pretty solid. But then I'm just thinking about it, and because like I'd probably go with Dalvin Cook too at 4, but it just gives me a little bit of pause. And the reason why I'm not comfortable with this spot is because Dalvin Cook, I don't know if he's worth this like top 5 pick, but at the same time, I'm not touching a receiver this high, because that means I won't be able to get a running back until James Conner, Leonard Fournette. I don't want them to be my RB1. Or like DeAndre Swift, maybe, if he falls. Who knows? Like,
I don't think he will.
Exactly. Like, you're not going to be able to get a good running back, and running backs are the name of fantasy football. So I'd be thinking about Justin Jefferson. I'd be thinking about Dalvin Cook. I'd be thinking about Najee Harris as a Steelers fan. But I think Najee Harris's workload is just going to be decreased a little bit this year. We've got a better running back room this year. I'm blanking on his name. I'm such a fake fan. But we have a running back who's been absolutely showing out in training camp and in preseason. I'm blanking on his name. I got to look this up when I'm done talking. But I just think that there's just going to be a little bit less of a role for him. He's not going to get like the 400 touches or whatever that he got last year in the receiving game and the running game. Right. So there's a little bit more.
Big Ben's noodle arm isn't there anymore.
You saw, Money Mitch is going to be throwing it down the field, but Kenny Pickett's going to take over after a couple weeks.
Money Mitch.
Kenny Pickett's going to take over after a couple weeks, and in the preseason games, Kenny Pickett's been a very efficient game manager, and I think that he can get Najee the ball very well too. But at the end of the day, I like the certainty of Dalvin Cook, even though those injuries make a little bit more questions. I'm gonna still take Dalvin Cook at the 1.4.
Yeah.
Okay.
So based off of ADP, I think after the 4 spot is typically where the wide receiver run starts. And personally, I think I would probably go with Justin Jefferson over Cooper Kupp if I'm taking a wide receiver. And we talked about that. And I honestly think that I'd rather go with my personal wide receiver 1 whoever you might think that is, over Derrick Henry. We talked about I'm scared of Derrick Henry. Najee, I think he's good, but I'd probably wait until later in the first round to take him. I think here's where I'd go wide receiver.
Yeah, I just hate this spot. Like I've been saying, it's just such a tough. Like I don't want to take a receiver because of how receivers are in fantasy football and just how the scarcity of the running back position. I might go with Derrick Henry here, but at the same time, it's a little, like we talked about, it's a little bit scary with that. But I definitely, if I'm going to take a receiver, it's going to be Justin Jefferson because, like I said before, he's going to be the wide receiver one in this. Like, not only is he one of the most talented receivers, probably the second best receiver in the league, because he's produced and just super consistently ever since he stepped foot on an NFL football field. And Cooper Kupp, while being a great player, is not the caliber of athlete, he's not the playmaker athlete that Justin Jefferson is. And I think that not that he's going to be bad, because he's definitely not going to be bad. He's still like at the very least a top 7 receiver in the league. I'd probably put him top 5, but not top 3. He's like this. I just don't know if he can repeat what he did last year. So I'm not comfortable taking Cooper Kupp this high. So I think I have to agree with you that Justin Jefferson is probably going to come off the board here. Like, I'm just thinking about the other running backs. Like, you've got Najee, you've got Derrick Henry, you've got who else do you have? You have Joe Mixon maybe, but this seems early for Mixon. Yeah. You've got Jamar Chase if you want to go off with a different receiver, which could be interesting.
I think honestly,
I take Chase over.
Yeah,
I might take Chase or Javonte or something over Cooper Kupp because Cooper Kupp is just honestly someone I'm probably just gonna steer a little bit clear of because he's his ADP is super high. He's someone like I'm not comfortable taking him. His ADP is right now is like I think pick 4, and I don't want to take Cooper Kupp that high. Like probably not until like pick 8 or something, pick 9, and at that point I'm just gonna take a running back and take wide receiver in the second. So I'm just gonna let someone else take Cooper Kupp and save me running backs. So
someone will. Yeah, so
I'm just not gonna end up with Cooper Kupp in any of my leagues. So yeah, but I think I'm gonna have to go with.
I think honestly.
Yeah, Jefferson at 5. So go on.
Yeah, I think honestly these picks like 5, 6, 7, maybe throw 8 in there. Honestly, they're pretty much the same. I feel like at that point you can get one of Jefferson, you could get Kupp, you could get Jamar Chase, or you could try and get out there and get Henry,
Najee,
or Harris. I think honestly 5 through 8.
There's also a world where Dalvin Cook falls here.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. I think honestly it's interchangeable. But I think after pick 8, I think there's a big kind of teardrop. And when we get to 9, I think that's where I go Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon is one of the most talented running backs in the NFL. I think the Bengals offense, we know they're looking for revenge. They lost in the Super Bowl. They're going to be a high-powered offense. We know that. They upgraded the offensive line, and I feel like not enough people are talking about Joe Mixon in general.
Yeah, he's always been one of the more talented guys going back to college. He's got some college tape out there that is just incredible. And then you just pair that with he's been a steady 1,000-yard rusher and like just one of the more talented running backs in his during his career. And now that this Bengals offense is the best that it's ever been during his career, he's going to get touches in the red zone, which is going to lead to touchdowns. He's going to get touches in the receiving game. He's going to get this offensive line is better, so he's not going to have to do what he did best, which was bounce everything outside and just be just use his athleticism. Like he can now hit holes hard, and Joe Mixon is in for a big year. But I just struggle taking him over like a Derrick Henry or a Najee Harris, just because Najee Harris, my guy, Steelers fan, like I said. So that's going to be like you obviously want to take guys that are on your team. So for me, I might take Najee, but I might recommend other people take Joe Mixon. But yeah, so what pick is this? This is pick 6 or 7?
This was we kind of like skipped through
6, 7,
6 through
8. So this is 9.
8. I think that was 9. So I think that was 9 for Mixon.
So 9 Mixon. So I'd probably say other people should take Mixon. Yeah, because assuming Derrick Henry comes off the board because he's got name value, so people are going to take him.
He'll be gone.
And then assuming Henry and Kupp come off the board because they both have name value from last year and just years past in general. So then, assuming 6 is let's say Cup and 7 is Henry, 8 let's just say 8 is either Najee or Mixon, and then 9 is Najee or Mixon, whichever one is the other one. So that 10.
Yeah. So then 10.
Yeah, 10 is probably going to be either Jamar Chase, Davante Adams. Let's look at this list. Jamar Chase, Davante Adams, Stephon Diggs. Maybe you might have.
Right.
You might see there's going to be somebody who might want to take Travis Kelsey there. Like me, I'm not going to take Travis Kelsey this high because there's not the value there. But I know my grandpa will take Travis Kelsey there. I know, or you might even see a Patrick Mahomes fly in there. But no, you don't want to do that, even though it's going to be tempting. But I think that it's going to be Jamar Chase here, or Davante Adams, or Stephon Diggs. It's whichever. Take your pick of those receivers. Me personally, I think I might go with honestly Diggs, because I think that Diggs is the most talented receiver of that option apart from Adams. But Adams is just in a new situation, and there's he's obviously got all the talent in the world, but I think you just have to give him a little bit of. He's going to be finish as a top 5 receiver for sure, but I just want to give him a little bit of. I like the certainty of Diggs or Jamar Chase, but Chase just has more.
We both made
weapons around him, so the ball might not go his way. But
right, we both made it pretty clear that we feel that running back should be going in the first round. But yeah, if I'm faced with the lower pick and I have the option to go with Chase or Adams or Diggs, I'm totally steering clear of Davante Adams personally. I just feel like. In Green Bay, he was the dude. He was if they're throwing, you're looking at Davante Adams every single time. And not that he's not the best weapon on the Raiders now, but you got Darren Waller, you got Hunter Renfrow. They're both there, 2 pass catchers that would have easily been the second option on Green Bay. And I like Derek Carr. I think he's a good quarterback. He's no Aaron Rodgers. That's just going to be 2 things that Davante Adams is going to have to adjust to, and he's just not going to get the touches that would put him as a first-round prospect for me. So I would probably go with Jamar Chase. I think he's super talented. It's only his second year in the league this year. He was pretty much a year removed from playing football in general before he suited up for the Bengals, which is absolutely unreal that he had that type of season.
Right away, too.
And I think he's just going to...
No learning
he's just going to continue
whatsoever.
Just going to continue to take that leap. I like Diggs too. I don't know. That was pick 10, right?
And then 11 and 12, it's probably pretty similar. Just going with either Adams, Diggs, honestly, I wouldn't mind a DeAndre Swift sneaking in because, like we said, running backs are when you have one of these picks, you're probably going to want to take receiver and running back because the value's not there to take running back this year. And you need to come away with a running back in the first 2 rounds. If you don't come away with a running back there, then you're just in for a stressful, not very it's a comforting to just lock in a guy you know is going to get 15 to 20 points.
You got your guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The years that
I see these TikToks.
Sorry, last year I ended up with Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. I thought I was set. But then they both go down with injuries, and I just felt no levels of comfort, no level. I felt like every week I was looking at the waiver wire trying to get someone who might go just some random guy who's going to go off for 13, 14 points, and hopefully my receivers can carry me. But that's just not a fun way to play fantasy football. And for me, I just like the stability of having a constant 15 plus 15, 20 point running back. So.
Right, and you see these TikToks and 0 RB. I'm going 0 RB strategy this year.
Not worth it.
I like that. It's all fun and games. I got Cooper Kupp as my wide receiver 1, and I got Tyree Kill as my wide receiver 2, and I've got Mark Andrews at my tight end. But who are your running backs? You got Miles Sanders and Antonio Gibson at your RB1 too. That you just can't do.
It's just not something you want to do whatsoever.
That pretty much, we could leave it with us predicting the first round. I don't think we need to go through the whole draft, really.
The first round is just fine.
Very long.
Now we can just talk about some individual players that we like or don't like this year. You want to start with sleepers, guys who are more down the board, or just talking about guys, or just
we
talking
can
about
do that.
guys
Let's
in
do
this like
sleepers.
top 30 range that like we think that we would personally take a little bit higher and just not touch.
Let's do that. Let's go in
Okay.
chronological order because we just got done with the first round. Let's go with top 30
Okay,
guys.
so like,
You can
so
go.
I think I'm gonna start with Travis Kelsey. Like, it's like he's an interesting pick because like I don't want to take a tight end this high, especially when I need running backs and stuff. But like, I think he's gonna have such a massive role in this offense this year because without Tyree Kill, and this offense is going to be a lot more just basically what Travis Kelsey excels at, that 10 to 20 yard offense that Mahomes is just going to be quick, efficient. Like we saw them try to do a little bit last year when Mahomes started just chucking the ball around, getting impatient. Like I think it's going to be a little bit more centered towards Travis Kelsey's skill set, and without Tyree Kill in there, he's going to play a huge role because we don't know. Like Sky Moore, rookie, new guy, we don't know what he's going to be like. He could be really good, but I'm not going to bet on it.
Right.
Juju Smith-Schuster, I think Juju could have a bounce back year, really year after like a couple year down years, but I'm not going to bet on that.
Yeah.
I think Travis Kelsey's just going to have he's just such a safe option that like if he's there in like that 15 to 20 range and you're just not confident with anyone else, Travis Kelsey's going to be good. And especially if you can get a Mahomes stack later, if you want to do that, if you want to take a quarterback high because you like this, like I said before, you like the stability of it, then it would be a good idea to stack them. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, since you're bringing up the high round quarterbacks, I figure I'll go off on a little tangent here. I've always been a guy that waits until late rounds to take quarterbacks, sometimes even to a fault. Last year, I ended up with Ryan Tannehill. That was a mistake. A couple of years back, I ended up with Cam Newton at when he was with New England the first year. That was not ideal. But I really just don't see how taking a guy like Josh Allen in like his ADP is like early third round. Mahomes is right behind him. Herbert's right behind him. I just can't see how that pays out for you. You're just missing out on so many different players at positions like running back and receiver, and maybe even tight end if you want to go that high. I just can't see it being worth it when you can wait and take a guy like Trey Lance or Russell Wilson late, or maybe even wait even longer and take Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr, or even, it's a little sleeper, who is going undrafted in some leagues, Jameis Winston.
He's going undrafted.
I like Jameis Winston.
Damn.
Yes. Dude, people just ignore him. I like Jameis Winston a lot. And I think if you can get these guys 10th round or later, and you get a talent in the third round or fourth round that isn't a QB, I just think that's a lot more valuable.
Yeah, especially look at the overall rank 233 on this thing. You've literally got the MVP sitting right there for you. You might as well pull the trigger on that, and you've got yourself a very, very nice Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback for you. So yeah,
Sure.
But for real though, like I disagree to some extent because I personally have the past couple years taken a quarterback in the 4th to 6th round. I think in most of my drafts, like I've ended up with like this year that would be like Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, like Jalen Hurts is projected up there, but I'm not touching Jalen Hurts there. I just don't think Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback. But like Dak, no, I don't. Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback.
I like Jalen Hurts.
Maybe in fantasy he'll be fine, but I just
the rushing upside.
In fantasy he might be fine, but I just have something like a big thing for me is when in doubt, I fall back on my personal like evaluation of that player as a football player, not just a fantasy player, because I don't know, like I've never like more. If we're talking more guys that I'm just not gonna draft because I just don't think they have the talent to like support their ADP. Because like in running backs, you've got Leonard Fournette, and like I'm not touching Leonard Fournette that high, even if he is going to be a productive guy, because like he's been up there in like finishing for running backs, but I just don't think he's that talented of a running back to be going that high. So I'm just not touching him there. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. He's just he cannot throw a football, but he can run. So he's going to be decent because he can run. But I'd rather take Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, or Matthew Stafford. Like I'm ending up with a quarterback between Stafford, Wilson, Rodgers, Prescott, Burrow, and Kyler probably. I'm not gonna take a quarterback third round, maybe not even fourth, but in the fifth round, I think I'm gonna go for a quarterback. Hopefully Burrow.
Yeah.
I'm kind of eyeing Burrow this year, honestly.
I like Burrow. He's got the dog in him, I would say. He's got that swagger. Just historically for me, I've had good luck reaching on high upside quarterbacks, like young guys that can get you points with their arms and legs. Like I'm not acting like I'm some fantasy genius. Like this is all pretty
I remember
much
you taking
dumb
Lamar,
luck. I just
right?
got lucky. Yeah, I got MVP Lamar late that year. I got MVP Cam one year, super late, and I got Mahomes in his first coming out MVP season late. And I just feel like, I don't know, maybe I get lucky, and that's why I'm biased towards waiting on a QB. But that's just how I go about my drafts, and everyone does it differently.
Well, if everyone did it the same way, then everyone would have the same team. So like this year, if you want to look for that upside guy, look at Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, someone in that range that just could their team isn't the best, which gives me a little bit of pause because those quarterbacks that you were talking about had a little bit more built around them. But I think the Jaguars could be not the worst team in the league this year. So Trevor Lawrence could have a good year, and he's currently projected as the 15th or 18th quarterback or something. So that could be taking shots on quarterbacks, young guys to be backups, but I like having a guy that I know. I don't know. Maybe do that. Maybe get the double quarterbacks with Dog in them. Get Joe Burrow in the fifth, and take Zach Wilson late round. You know how it is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You mentioned Justin Fields, and this is coming from me, a Chicago sports guy. You can see in my background. I love my Chicago teams. I love the Bears. I'm not touching Justin Fields.
He looked so good in the preseason, though.
Dude, he's a great player. He's a great player. The Bears are gonna suck. The Bears are gonna be awful. And we've got Mooney. He'll throw the ball to Mooney, but after that, there's a drop off. I mean, Cole Kmet is meh. All the other wide receivers we have are meh. Byron Pringle.
Yeah, David Montgomery's not even some receiving back you can rely on either. Although David Montgomery,
exactly.
I like David Montgomery. So
he's a good player. He's a workhorse. Yeah.
Okay, do you want to say one of your guys that you're talking about that you're liking?
Yeah, we're talking about top 30.
Or just top 30, top 40. Just someone up in there that you'd be considering in the late second, third round, maybe even early fourth. I don't know.
Sure. Currently going at ADP 41, I believe, something around there, is Courtland Sutton, wide receiver from the Broncos. And I personally would reach on Courtland Sutton to make him my wide receiver one. I got the second pick overall. My goal is to go running back, wide receiver at the start of the third. And I'd honestly think about reaching for Courtland Sutton at the start of that third round. I think he's going from a guy like Drew Lock. He's a young quarterback. I'll just come out and say Drew Lock is not.
He lost the job to Geno Smith.
He's going to Russell Wilson.
He lost the job to Geno Smith. That's all you need to say about Drew Lock.
He's just not a good quarterback. Yeah. He's going to Russell Wilson now. One of the best quarterbacks in the league. Personally, in my opinion, throws the best deep ball of anyone in the league. And I think Courtland Sutton is going to be that guy that Russ looks for downfield. He can be that big play receiver. He can get you those big touchdowns. But he's also a red zone threat. He can take DBs off routes, on short routes, medium routes. I think Courtland Sutton can do it all. And yeah, Jerry Jeudy's there. And Jerry Jeudy's also super talented. But I think Courtland Sutton is a guy that I'm going to take in that top 40-ish range.
Yeah, I really like Courtland Sutton. I took him, I think, in my league last year. He ended up getting hurt, but I've always liked Courtland Sutton. Right. He's one of the more talented. He's just a big athletic receiver with good route running ability as well. And now that he has an actual quarterback throwing him the ball, he could be a very good fantasy option. But now for someone in this range that I'm just not touching at all, and I don't think this is an unpopular opinion, but I'm not touching Zeke at this top 30.
That's
pick.
Exactly who
Tony
I was
Pollard is probably going to take at least 50% of the carries there, and as the season goes on, like looking back at Derrick Henry being that guy who's like taking a high workload, like, and he's aging now. Zeke is in that exact same spot.
Yeah.
But he's actually been noticeably slowing down every single year. And
Right.
Zeke is a solid player, but Tony Pollard like hiding right behind him, I would not be surprised if the only thing right now I think keeping Zeke in the starting job is his name and the fact that Jerry Jones is like Jerry Jones or whatever, and they want to sell Zeke jerseys, obviously. Yeah, I mean, but like Zeke is a good player still, but he's not worth this top.
I know, bro.
This is
storming. It's storming.
Apologies to all of our viewers. Unfortunately, the time that we decided to record this video, it decided to thunderstorm on us. So we're sorry about that. If you can hear if you can hear rain or lightning, but anyways, back to the topic at hand.
Yeah, I'll butt in real quick. I would honestly say I think Tony Pollard's a more talented player than Zeke. I think he's a better player. I think Zeke will be the starter. I know, but it's my mom yelling. You can hear that. Yeah, I dropped a text in the family group chat. It said recording a podcast. Please be quiet.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes
happens. Hey, that's what you're getting your sports info from two high schoolers. We live at home. We're in our bedrooms right now recording. You're gonna have to live with a little bit of background noises.
Hopefully, in a couple weeks, we might be able to record like in person because I'm trying to get a little bit of a studio set up in my basement right now, but it's just taking some time. But for now, this is what you guys are gonna get. So, yeah. Anyways, I agree. Tony Pollard is one of the more talented. He's the best backup running back. No, actually, no. I like A.J. Dillon more, but Tony Pollard is probably the second best backup running back in the league.
Kareem Hunt's up there.
Yeah,
too.
But I think it could probably a backup running backs in the league. A.J. Dillon is by far the best in my opinion. I don't know if we're deciding to be able to swear on this podcast or not, but I love A.J. Dillon so much, and so yeah, he's the best backup running back in the league. But Tony Pollard is definitely the second best in my opinion. I think Kareem Hunt is a little bit overrated, honestly, but I think Kareem Hunt's still pretty good. And so Tony Pollard is just going to take that job from Zeke. So I'm not touching Zeke. Yeah. I'm not touching Zeke in the top.
Yeah, I was going to say bottom line.
I'm not touching Zeke in the top 50.
Both of us were just
yeah.
Ooh. I'd take him if you felt me at
50. At 50 I'd take him, but I'm not taking him at 42.
Bottom line, we're steering away. We're an anti-Ezekiel Elliott top 40 pick. Now I feel like I kind of want to move on to some maybe late round guys that I think are going way too late. I'll just kick it off with give me Juju.
Ooh.
Juju Smith-Schuster. I think Juju, how many years ago was that where he was showing out for the Steelers, running the slot? He had over 1,000 receiving yards with Big Ben.
That was 2018 when he was playing second fiddle.
Couple years removed.
Yeah, I think that was 2018.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and now he's coming into a Chiefs offense with probably the best quarterback in the league, Patrick Mahomes. Throwing him the ball, no more Tyree Kill. It's just him and Kelsey. I think Juju, being a wide receiver 1, is going way too late. And he's a guy that I'm definitely willing to take a risk. Not even a risk, but I'll reach for him if I have the opportunity to take him. I like Juju a lot this year.
Kind of in that same mold, I would probably take Rashad Bateman is someone I like this year. He's going around the same spot as Juju. He's going a little bit later, but Rashad Bateman is going to be the Ravens wide receiver 1 this year. And Bateman was the first round pick for a reason. And he was way better than the 27th overall pick where he was drafted says that he is. He is wide receiver 1 for the Ravens, and Lamar, as much crap as he gets for not being able to throw the ball or whatever, he is a pretty good quarterback. At worst, a top 11 guy. I'd probably put him in the top 10.
Yeah. I was going to say top 10.
He is a I'm definitely thinking about Rashad Bateman. He's a very talented player, very well-rounded.
Yeah.
He's going to be their wide receiver one. He's going to get the ball. It's him and Mark Andrews in that offense. Everyone else is a little bit questionable. And actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to say one more guy that I kind of like this year. Also on the Ravens, J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, coming off an injury, I know that's a little bit scary, but when he was playing for the Ravens, he was one of the most efficient runners in the game. I believe he led the league in yards per carry that year, and I think there's a reason why he was being taken so high last year, and being taken now. What's he projected as? Like top, like fourth, fifth, sixth round, something like that.
I don't see him right now.
Yeah, something in like the six. I think he's like in the 60s or something, or 50. Okay. He's like 55, I think. But like, yeah, I'm definitely taking him there. Like, I like Bateman. I like Dobbins. So like, yeah, very good players.
Yeah, the thing with Rashad Bateman, no one doubts the talent level. Obviously, you've seen the tape, you've seen the 40 time. He's a very gifted athlete and talented football player. I don't. Lamar Jackson is a great quarterback. I'm just gonna start by saying that I think Lamar is very good. The only thing I'm worried of is with Marquise Brown was Lamar's number one option for a while. He just doesn't find the wide receivers that as often as I'd like for a guy that I'd be taking as a high pick wide receiver. And Mark Andrews is talented. Lamar, I feel like he leans on his tight ends and his legs, and maybe even occasionally dumping off to his running backs more than he even looks to his wide receivers. I would still draft Rashad Bateman, but it's something I'd think about. Like, it'd
just
be in
a
the
counterpoint to that, though, about the Marquise Brown thing. I agree that, Lamar likes his tight ends, but I think that's partially because Lamar is not the best deep ball thrower. He's not the best, vertical. Marquise Brown is this deep threat. He's speed. He's all of this. But Rashad Bateman is more of that complete receiver who's going to be an option in the short game, in the intermediate game, and as a vertical receiver. And I think that's part of the reason why Lamar likes tight ends so much, is because of their impact in the short to intermediate game. And Bateman has that ability to, coming out of college, I think I compared him to Michael Thomas. I think because they both had that ability to dominate in the short to intermediate game while also being able to expand their game to the vertical as well. And Bateman is a better athlete than I give him credit for, honestly. But I just think that Lamar is going to be able to find him pretty well this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's fair when you put it that way. You brought up Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas being drafted as around the wide receiver 28. I'd take a flyer on Michael Thomas.
Is he hurt still? Or is he starting week 1?
I'm pretty sure he's 100% back.
If he's 100% back, then
I'm pretty sure
take him. But in the same mold as Michael Thomas. I think in the same mold as Michael Thomas in years past, I kind of like DeAndre Hopkins where he's going right now, because we all know DeAndre Hopkins is a top 5 receiver in the NFL, and it has one of the best quarterbacks in the league as well, in Kyler Murray. And while he had a down year last year, I think coming off of a suspension, he's going to if you have a team, if you think you've built a team so far that is good enough to get you into the playoffs for sure, take DeAndre Hopkins, because you're going to be thankful that you have him once the playoffs roll around, or once even the second half of the season rolls around. Because DeAndre Hopkins only suspended 6 games. It's kind of like my dad when Brady had his whole inflation stuff. Yeah, the Deflategate. And he was suspended 4 games. Brady dropped in fantasy leagues. My dad took Brady and then ended up winning the whole league because he got a very good player later in the draft than he should have gotten. Right. So I think it could be the same mold for DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I think that's all pretty fair. I would take Hopkins. I'm gonna switch the topic a little bit. I'm gonna go with one player that I'm not trying to leave any draft without taking. I'm taking this guy in every draft that I have, and that is Damian Pierce, running back for the Texans.
Yes, yeah. Damian Pierce is
late round guy, RB 36 to 40-ish range. He's going to be in at the start of preseason, people didn't know if this was going to be a situation where it's RB by committee. But in preseason, Pierce has been showing out. He's been balling. I do think the Texans are going to be a bad team, but I think that the talent level is there for Pierce, that him alongside with Davis Mills, they can lead this Texans offense to being mediocre. And I think that Pierce is going to be a good late-round flyer that I'm going to try and get on every team that I draft.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because, well, I'm just a big Damian Pierce fan in general. I thought he was the third best running back in this past draft class, pretty easily, honestly. And he had no business falling to the fourth round or whatever that he was taken in. And he's just such a workhorse. Like the dude, sorry, that's a bad word. Workhorse implies that you get a bunch of carries, but like he's a powerful, like sturdy dude. Like he's low key. He's low key a little bit of like a worse athletic version of Javonte Williams in a way. Like the way that they're both stockily built, they're going to run through tackles. He's just going to, and because this Texans team is like, has nobody to compete with him on it, I trust Damian Pierce to win this job. And especially with how he's playing in preseason, like he's already flying up boards. Like I'm probably going to try to leave every single draft with Damian Pierce for sure.
Yeah, and I think that there's something to be said about rookie running backs falling into favorable situations where there's a lot of touches that need to be taken up by somebody. Damian Pierce is going to get the ball a solid amount on that offense. And I think that rookie running backs in general usually perform pretty well in fantasy situations. If you get the right one, I think if you grab a good rookie running back, I feel like there's always a pretty solid rookie up there in like the top 15 performers for running backs every single year. And I think Pierce can be that guy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah. So,
do you have a guy other than Pierce that you feel like you're trying to snag?
Oh, you're making me scroll through the list again because Pierce was the guy I wrote down for this sort of thing. But
this name just popped on my screen. I can bring up Cole Kmet. As a Bears fan, I think Kmet's been kind of underwhelming since we drafted him. But I think that this year he's going to take a step, and someone's got to step up and catch the ball. It can't be all Mooney. I think Cole Kmet's pretty solid. If you're not like a guy that's going to take a guy or girl that's going to take a tight end early and wait till a later round, I think Cole Kmet's a pretty solid option right there.
Yeah, Cole Kmet is a solid player. Yeah, especially because there's nobody else on that team. So, but like looking at this list, like I think he's just being drafted a little bit too low. There's two guys. I'll start with one. Brandon Ayuk. He's projected as the 91st player on this board, and this maybe just because I'm lower on Deebo Samuel, just because I think that a lot more of that is the Niners scheme than is him. Like I don't think Deebo Samuel is a top 10 receiver. I think Deebo Samuel is great. He's one of the best athletes in football, but I just think he's gonna have a hard time repeating what he did last year. And Brandon Ayuk is the more complete receiver in my opinion. And I think Brandon Ayuk, with Trey Lance gonna be taking over as the quarterback, he's gonna have a big role because coming out of college, Brandon Ayuk was seen as this yards after catch and deep threat type of player. And I think that's gonna be that's perfect for what he complements Deebo very well in what the 49ers want to do. So I think that he's gonna have a good season for sure, I think. And then
I'm going to butt in about Ayuk a little bit. I feel like last year Ayuk had tons of hype going into every fantasy draft, and everyone's like, you want to get Brandon Ayuk.
Thank you, Brett Coleman.
And he just flat out he disappointed a lot of people.
So people are just scared, yeah.
But I think that there's something to be said for bounce back years like that. Like Cooper Kupp had a pretty promising year 2 seasons ago, I believe, and everyone's like, he's going to take the jump, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's going to take the jump, take Cooper Kupp. And he flopped 2 seasons ago in fantasy and then came back and had, oh my.
I just got that one. I heard it through your thing and then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That was a big thunderclap right there. Cooper Kupp, after kind of flopping the season before, came back and had probably the best wide receiver season of all time. So I think there's definitely something to be said for these bounce back guys, and Ayuk is definitely a player that's going to perform.
Yeah, and just like the way that he just fits in that offense is just so nice, in my opinion. And then, like, so moving on to the other guy I was talking about, his name just popped out to me on this screen. It's Christian Kirk. Like, Christian Kirk's an interesting guy, and I feel like Cliff Kingsbury, like, just misutilized him in Arizona, and I think the Jaguars are going to have a big role for him in this offense. Like, Christian Kirk was overpaid. Everybody knows that. But you don't pay a guy like that if you're not confident in their ability. And the fact that Christian Kirk is being taken, like, I'm pretty sure he's going to be their wide receiver 1 this year. And Christian Kirk is not Christian Kirk is not like he's projected to go top. He's projected to go outside the top 100 picks, which is just wild to me. He's going, like, they pay that money for him in this offense with no other weapons really, with a young, promising quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. I think that Christian Kirk could be in for a big year, especially because he's been misutilized throughout his career. But yeah, that's another guy I like that I guess I'm going to try to, I'm talking myself into it more and more, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty solid draft recap. I mean, we can go, I don't know, what could we get into? Anything? We talked about quarterbacks. We talked about who we're feeling.
Yeah, if you don't get a good tight end, take Pat Freiermuth, because Pat Freiermuth is really good. And
well, hometown bias.
No hometown bias whatsoever. And I feel like Nick Chubb is a guy who gets underrated a little bit in fantasy just because of, like, oh no, he has the threat of Kareem Hunt and, like, coming right behind him. But, like, he's a safe guy. And in a year like this where, like, the running backs are just in a weird spot, he's a guy I would think about at the end of the first round for sure. Even though, like, a lot of people are probably
end of the first.
Yeah, end of the first. You heard me.
Really?
Running backs are important, and I want to take a running back. So.
Yeah, I mean that's valid.
I might start.
I was thinking I could maybe get him in the second.
Oh, yeah, beginning of the second, sure. Like, that's probably where he's most.
No, not beginning. Late second, because I got the 2
late
pick.
Second.
I thought
if you can get him at late, if you can end up with Christian McCaffrey and Nick Chubb, then you won your league, Cooper.
I'll be a happy man. Safe to say, I'll be.
He might get hurt a little bit because he's not going to have a quarterback throwing the ball for.
That offense.
Yeah, but at the same time, that offensive line is really good. So, and, like, I don't know, they've got Amari Cooper too. Amari Cooper's just in a weird spot, dude. I guarantee you he's regretting changing teams. But yeah, also Saquon Barkley's an interesting guy. What are your thoughts on Saquon? Like,
I like Saquon. I mean, it's easy for me to speak on all these guys because I'm like, I know who my first round pick is, but if any of these borderline guys fall to me in the second, I'll take him. Like Saquon, obviously I'm going to take Saquon. If he falls to me in the second, he won't. But I think Saquon's 2 years removed from that ACL injury. I think he's pretty much everything I've seen since he's 100% healthy in camp and in
he's
preseason.
Looking really strong in camp.
He looks shifty. He's making all the right cuts. He looks like old Saquon Barkley. And they upgraded in head coach. They got Brian Daboll now over there in New York. And they upgraded the offensive line a little bit. It's still not a great offensive line unit.
They got Andrew Thomas and a bunch of nobodies.
Yeah, exactly. But I think Saquon's just going to be the full focal point of that offense, and everything is going to run through him. I'm not thinking twice about taking Saquon. I think the earliest is I'd probably go like mid-second round.
Yeah, I'd probably go with mid-second round is probably the earliest. I'd probably start thinking about him, like, especially if I'm one of the guys who ended up with a wide receiver at pick 8 or something, then I'm taking a running back round 2 100%, and then which would what makes Saquon pick 16. I'm going to take him there if he's the best option on the board. Like, I'd rather take him over Leonard Fournette for sure, Aaron Jones for sure. Aaron Jones is losing his job to my man AJ Dillon. Taking him over Zeke, taking him over James Conner, taking him over, honestly, Alvin Kamara maybe, but I don't know. Alvin Kamara seems that he's going to be getting away with everything.
That's dicey. I don't know.
What about Javonte Williams? I feel like Javonte Williams I could see in is another second round guy.
I like him,
especially because the offense in general is just going to be more high powered and like overall. So
I was getting so excited for Javonte Williams when we weren't sure if Melvin Gordon was going to be returning to the Broncos or not. And as soon as he re-signed, I was just like, oh, man, like you gotta let a player like Williams just be the guy.
I feel like,
and
I like Melvin Gordon. Like I think Melvin Gordon's a good player, but at the same time, Javonte Williams is a top 12, top 10 running back. And like,
if you got a young running back like this,
cook.
let him run the show. Yes, exactly. And I think I would still take Javonte Williams. I just know I can see myself just getting pissed off every time that they're in the red zone and, here's Melvin Gordon. He's going to steal this
Javonte Williams is literally the more powerful player. Why are you putting he's faster, he's more powerful. The only thing that Gordon has on him is probably vision. And like, sure, but I don't know. Melvin Gordon should just be on the team to teach Javonte more stuff. I don't know.
Right. I think I'm going to go with overall draft strategy here for me. I think my strategy in the late rounds this year is trying to get those handcuff guys, those backup running backs. I'm going McCaffrey in the first round. He doesn't really have a clear cut.
Who is the backup for him? Chuba?
There's Donta Foreman is there, and Chuba Hubbard is also there. But I think I'm going to be that guy that just steals, like, oh, you have Dalvin Cook. Sorry, I took Madison. Oh, you got Jones. Sorry, I'm taking AJ Dillon.
AJ Dillon's going to
I'm taking
sixth round or something. So if you want a handcuff.
Okay, still, I'd take him.
Sure.
I'd take him.
Got to root for the Packers now, Cooper.
I don't know. I feel like handcuffing is the move.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, it's definitely just my draft strategy is gonna like just change as the draft goes on because, like, going into it, my goal. So let's just say this: I'm hoping to get like a pick. I don't know, pick 8, maybe pick 9. Try to get Najee or Joe Mixon probably in the first, and then go with either second running back if someone like Javonte is there, or Saquon maybe, or if Nick Chubb is there at like say I have pick 8, then that's pick 16 in the second round. So then go with maybe Najee Harris and then Nick Chubb. I don't know. They might have the same.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
I think you
and then take receiver.
You said something about the talent level dropping off with running backs, so you might not be able to go running back this year, depending on where your pick falls.
But I don't know.
But I feel like I'd still do it because if you look at the late rounds and all the wide receiver depth there is, you can get Juju later. You can get Allen Robinson late, who's playing with the best QB of his career. You can get Rashad Bateman. We talked about
Christian Kirk. We talked about all these guys who are projected to be like, or even just if you're willing to take we talked about Brandon Ayuk. If you're willing to take DeAndre Hopkins later, like just suffer for 6 weeks, and then you have one of the best receivers in the league at the price of not that. So, yeah. And just talking about a specific player that I think is probably got dropped a little bit too much because of his change of scenery is Tyree Kill. Because Tyree Kill is without a doubt a top 3 receiver in this league. Anyone who says otherwise just needs to watch the dude play. The dude's speed just unlocks a whole, like literally nobody in the NFL can guard Tyree Kill just simply because of his speed. And the dude also has hands. He's a good route runner. He can get the ball in his hands as a reverse guy, as a sweep guy. Like he's going to be an absolute monster this year, just like he is every single year. Just because he has got Tua throwing him the ball, he might not be as much of a deep threat guy, but he's still going to take those crossers for an extra 20 yards every single time he gets the ball in his hand. Like the dude is the best guy in the NFL with the ball in his hands. He's the shiftiest player he's the shiftiest player I've ever seen on a football field. So I can't speak on guys like in the way past, but he's the shiftiest guy I've ever watched with the ball in his hands, and the fastest as well. So that I might be fading Jalen Waddle a little bit, honestly, just because of that. But like, just Tyreek Hill is that dude, and wherever he goes, he's going to dominate. So I'm perfectly comfortable taking him in the second round.
Sure, I've done mock drafts where he slips all the way until the start of the third.
Like take him take him there. Easy.
In a heartbeat.
100%.
In a heartbeat, I'm taking him there. And I agree with the Jalen Waddle thing. Waddle's a talented player. We all know that. But what gave him his fantasy success last year toward like down the road was the volume. And he needed a set amount of like high targets and catches to get those fantasy numbers that you want. at the price point that you're drafting him at. And I think now that Tyreek's there, he's just not going to get as many looks. Still good. Still a good player. But for fantasy, I don't know.
Yeah. And then, is there anything else you want to talk about, or?
I was gonna butt in real quick and talk about how this year, with like the way the whole draft board's shaping out, the go-to way to prep for a draft, I'd say, is probably like looking at a ranking list. But after that, I would say it's mock drafts.
Yeah.
Like ESPN, you can join a mock draft super easily. And I feel like, me personally, I'm a big mock draft guy usually, but this year I've been thinking like the way the board's set up that everything's so unpredictable that mock drafts aren't going to be able to guarantee you that much.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of surprises in every league, and it depends who your friends are that you're in the league with or the family you're playing with. I just think that this draft board and every league is just going to be super diverse and different.
100% agree. Like, that's just like I used to be a huge mock draft guy, like not just for fantasy drafts, but for the regular NFL draft. But like this past year, the 2022 NFL draft, like it was so unpredictable, and I ended up only doing like 3 mock drafts or something all year. When there was a time I did 3 mock drafts in 2 hours for like the 2021 draft. Like, and then that's the same thing for this fantasy draft. Like, I think I've done 1 mock draft this year for fantasy. And I'm just like, because looking at the board, like you said, it's just going to be so unpredictable. It's just going to depend on who, there's going to be reaches all over the place. There's going to be people falling all over the place. Like, it's just crazy. Like,
Don't get me wrong. It's nice to see the type of player that would be there at your pick in each round, but I just wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket and trusting mock drafts.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
so yeah, do you think it's time to close out, or we good? It's been an hour.
Yeah, I mean, we've covered. Yeah, damn,
exactly.
Goodbye. We've covered a lot. I hope that you guys, all of our listeners, have gained a little bit of fantasy knowledge. And we maybe helped you out a little bit with who you can take, who you might not want to take in this year's fantasy season.
Yeah, and we're sorry if like you hear a lot of background noise of like dogs barking, parents yelling at us, rain, thunder. Like, we're really sorry about that. We're going to try to keep that to a minimum, but at least for these next couple of recordings, probably we're going to try to start pushing them out of queue a little bit more. So yeah. We're sorry about that. We hope you still learned about the fantasy season this year, and yeah.
I mean, thank you for listening. I mean, this is like our first full episode ever. And we're gonna keep trying to crank out recordings of good quality and good information, a little humor here and there. Just
So yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Right. Follow us on our social medias. Follow the TikTok, Scott Nance Sports. Cooper, you want to plug anything?
I don't have anything to plug right now, but maybe down the road we'll see.
Maybe we might make a Twitter, TikTok account for this podcast, the Back Pocket Topics sports show. But yeah, follow the YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow us on whatever podcast thing we end up posting this on, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, we're gonna figure out
how to post these things. But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and good luck on your fantasy drafts, and have a good life. See you guys next time.
Yeah, thanks guys. Peace out.